What's up, all my YouTubers? Hope everyone is doing well, and I hope that you're having a wonderful evening. I wish nothing but the best for you and your family. Um, I am just in awe of what I am seeing unfold and how many people don't really see what is happening. And so, but because people are using this organization, Black Lives Matter, um, as a reason for it, I am a person who I love to get into the history of things, and then I love to explain exactly, what, where did this start, Black Lives Matter? Because there was a specific event that took place on August 9th, 2014, and that was the shooting of Michael Brown, who was 19, and he was shot by a police officer. Now, of course, people have a way of mixing up the story, saying that he had his hands up and he said, "Don't shoot." But the facts are there, you guys. And I'm just going to get into what the facts are. What led to the shooting? Officer Darren Wilson received a call about a robbery that took place at a convenience store by two young men, Michael Brown and his friend Dorian Johnson. Officer Wilson was driving towards the convenience store when he saw Michael Brown and Dorian Johnson. They were walking in the middle of the street. And whenever they made the call, they gave a description of, let's say, like what they were wearing and things of that nature. So he went to, he had asked them, because they're walking in the middle of the street, to get to the sidewalk. And Michael Brown refused, and he was, I'm kind of just reading through the report real quick. It says that he had refused, and as Officer Wilson was going to exit the vehicle, Michael Brown blocked the door. I guess he stood in front of the door, and he punched the officer in the face. Then he attempted to grab the officer's handgun. There was a struggle. Officer Wilson shot Michael Brown in his hand. I don't know which hand, but shot him in his hand, and he backed away from the vehicle. I'm thinking if he's going in for the gun, he was probably using his left hand to try to grab the gun. But whatever, he was shot in his hand, so he backed away from the vehicle, and then Michael Brown ran away. So as he ran away, Officer Wilson was able to get out the vehicle, and he pursued Michael Brown. And so eventually Michael Brown stops, turns around. Now, this is a witness's quote, and I'm just paraphrasing you guys because it's pretty long. It says that he ran towards the officer full charge. The officer fired several shots at him. Michael Brown continuously came forward in a charging motion. Then, when he stopped running at the officer ceased fire. When he charged once more, the officer returned with fire. And then the witness is quoted as saying, "I would say 3 to 4 shots." And that was when Michael Brown finally collapsed. So we see what happened. It wasn't that he was saying, "Hands up, don't shoot." And what I hate is how they're making it seem like the mistake that this young man made was not even there. I know some people are going to probably pull out the race card like, "You're Hispanic. What do you know about that?" Oh no, I can give you some stories. Here in Chicago, man, believe me when I say, it's happened. In fact, I'll give you a story. Just for giggles. And it's not really funny, but I'm going to give you guys a story. It happened one time that I was coming home from church. It was me, my wife, and my twin daughters. And I was driving our minivan. We were circling around our block looking for parking because parking over here, it's not easy. A lot of people have cars over here, so it's not easy. So we were just looking for parking. We were going around and around and around. And I remember no sirens, no strobes, nothing. We stopped in front of the house, and I told my wife, I said, why don't you get out the car with the girls and I'll go find parking. When I said that, just then the female officer approaches my wife on her side of the vehicle. And she tells her, license and insurance. And but I remember this woman, she had a dirty mouth. Every second, third word was a cuss word. And so when I saw she's talking to Mo, I said, I'm sorry, what's your badge number? If there's anything I learned is that police don't like when you ask for the badge number. Because then that's their ID. You can call that report on them with that number. And they keep that on file. So when I said that, I noticed that there's a male officer on my side, and he says, you know what? Well, just then my wife got out the car, right? With the insurance and everything. So when I asked her that question, she said, who the blank is that? She said, oh, that's your baby daddy. And I said, no, I'm her husband. And so that's when the male officer who came around, because we had switched spots. That's what it was. My wife got out the vehicle. I went to go move the vehicle. And that's when he said, you know, you got stupid written all over your face. And I said, oh, yeah? So I want your badge number as well. And I remember, you guys, I'm going to take out my wallet, right? When he says, get out the car. Now, I had my seatbelt on already because I was ready to move the vehicle. Well, he opens the door. And when he goes to grab me, the seatbelt is still on. The strap is right here. And he's pulling my left arm, and the belt is going into my neck like this. So I had like a burn mark, you could say, from the seatbelt. And I said, he said, oh, you're resisting it? I said, the seatbelt. Let go of the seatbelt. So he let go of me, and I was able to undo the seatbelt. And right away, they both grabbed me. I'm up against the vehicle, and they start checking my pockets. And I remember I heard that officer say that day. He said, oh, we got one. He said, yeah, you one of these gangbangers from over here, aren't you? And then he mentioned, you know, the street gang from this area at the time. And I remember I just started laughing. My wife is a witness. I just started laughing. I said, man, you are so late, bro. You're like 10 years late. Come on, man. And so he's checking me, and I remember he grabbed my license, and as he's about to go into, he says, do you have anything illegal on you? I said, I have nothing illegal on me. I said, man, I'm a family man. He's like, okay. And so he pushes me in the back of the car. They run my records. And I'm talking to them through, you know what I mean? Through the glass inside the car. Well, it's not really glass. It's more like, you know, like the steel screen, if you will. So I'm telling the officer, what do you got? I said, you have nothing. You are going to take these cuffs off of me. You're going to give me your badge number, and I'm going to file that report. And I'm going to make sure both of you. So he gets out, he's upset, he slams the door, he gets out, whatever. Takes a few minutes, and he comes back. Then he gives me $100 ticket for double parking. And that was just one of them, because I'm trying to sum this up, you guys. So, is there racial profiling? Yes. Does it happen? Yes. But it does not mean every freaking officer that is out there is a jerk and they're trying to get you. And the sad part about all of this, you guys, is this is what the media is feeding us. This is what they're feeding us. So, here, let me go back to this now. So, just so you guys know, I'm not just a person who's just sitting around saying, hey, Yeah, I think it's like this, and I never been through. Believe me, and I've seen a whole lot more that I can get into, but I want to make this video too long for you guys. So we see that this young man made a mistake, and he was shot, and he was killed by the police because of the mistake he made. The family went even further, and they had their own medical examiner. His name was, he's a medical examiner and a pathologist. His name is Dr. Michael Baden. And he's quoted as saying that the wounds Michael Brown received coincided with Michael Brown charging at Officer Darren Wilson. So we see that those wounds that he had received on that day in Ferguson, it was because of a mistake that he made. This is what I'm saying, you guys. This was all started because of a mistake that he made. Now don't get me wrong. I understand. There was, I can go back. What happened to Rodney King? Horrible. What happened to this young man? Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot his name. Just a few weeks ago, like when the officer put his knee on his neck. Come on, man. That is just a dumb mistake. And yes, that officer deserves to go to prison. Definitely that officer deserves to go to prison. In fact, here in Chicago, what happened with oh my God, I remember it was all over the web. The young man that was gunned down by the police officer here in the city. He deserved to go to prison. That's why that officer is in prison. So here's what I'm saying, you guys. What I don't want to see, and what I hate seeing, is how we become so divided. Then there's this bias. Then there's this hate. And this media is just horrible. All they do is feed into this nonsense. They're trying to make it so that everyone is going to hate everyone. And you know what? It's a simple game of divide and conquer. And like sheep, we're falling for this nonsense. We're falling for this nonsense. Antifa don't live here in the city. They don't live here in Chicago. They got people that are from Antifa that come from other states, take buses in here just to destroy, burn it down, then they go back home. And how's our city? Messed up. How's downtown? Messed up. And in the end, we got to pay for that. So it does not make any sense for us to support this nonsense, man. Listen, this is our community. This is our city. And if we don't do something to fix it, ain't nobody else going to do it for us. I tell you what, Miss Little Lightfoot, all she's going to do is raise taxes. Because she ain't for us either. She's not trying to help this city. Not at all. And neither is this governor, who's really corrupt. He kept his little weed dispensaries open, kept liquor stores open, but he's closing churches, closing schools, and then they're saying, oh, it's COVID. Stop. So I go get COVID going to the liquor store? I'm going to get COVID by going to the weed dispensary? But I can't go worship the Lord in our house of prayer? Come on, man, that's bias. That is too biased, you guys. Look, I can go so many ways with this nonsense. But here, I'm going to sum it up with this. Okay. What they ended up saying after the death of Michael Brown was that he had his hands up and he said, don't shoot. And it's not true. That's not what happened. That is not what happened. And again, I'm not saying that this don't happen, but let's keep the facts where the facts are supposed to be, man. The Ferguson thing, it was something he brought on himself. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of the police department was corrupt. I live in the city. I live in Chicago. I live in the city. I don't live in the suburbs. I live in the city. And I understand some of the department is corrupt. But then again, you have some faithful, good officers. And it's because of those faithful, good officers I'm saying we do need the police department. And for you Christians that are asleep, and you're saying, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ matters. No, no, no. Listen. Listen. This is all a New World Order agenda. That's what this is all about. It's all about destroying what we have here now and saying, you know what? Send the UN. Send the United Nations. And you really think you're going to have rights then? We're asleep at the wheel, you guys. We need to wake up. We really need to wake up. And here's my whole point in all of this. I did not make this video to cause a seed of division. No, I'm trying to bring everything in. So, in closing, Michael Brown, his death was not a racism hit. It was not. It was a result of a young man who I believe he could have been under the influence. He could have been under the influence, but he made some horrible mistakes that costed him his life. Horrible mistakes that costed him his life. I mean, I'm not going to play like I'm an angel, man. I used to get high when I was younger. I'm sure maybe he was high on maybe he was high on PCP. Maybe he smoked a Wiki stick before that. Maybe he was doing some coke. I don't know. We don't know what Michael Brown was doing. But he did something. And he felt like he was so powerful. Because even after he got shot in the head, he ran back at the officer. That tells me he was on something. Usually when somebody gets shot, they feel that pain. They feel that like their hand is on fire because they just got shot in the head. They run. They don't run towards you. They run away. That tells me this guy was on something. Because then there was multiple hits before he finally stopped. Now, do Black Lives Matter? Yes. Yes, they do. Black lives do matter. They matter very much. And listen, I got family. Tell you, man, if you see some of my family, you know, porque son trigueños, because they're dark skinned. Look, man, I'm past the color skin. It ain't even about that. If you know me well, you know what I'm saying. You know where I'm from. You know where I'm at. It ain't about the color of the skin. That's the media putting the freaking race card to divide us. It's not about that. So do Black Lives Matter? Yes, they do. Every single one of us is fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God. So everyone that can hear my voice, let me just tell you from my heart to your heart, I'm telling you right now, you matter. You're special and you were made in God's image. And can't nobody take that from you. Because the Word of God says you were fearfully and wonderfully made. And that's the truth. So let's not get into that race card nonsense. That's the media bringing division about us. We're past that. And here's my whole point. I believe we have to go back to what the Word of God says. It says in the book of Matthew chapter 22 verses 37 through 40, it says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Again, that's Matthew chapter 22, verses 37 through 40. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. If we can go back to this, you guys, we can change this world. Loving the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our mind, and all our strength, and loving our neighbors as we love ourselves. Man, we will flip this society. It'll be just like it was in the book of Acts. But if we feed into this media nonsense, you know, adding gas to this little race war fire, come on, man, it's all about divide and conquer. It's all about divide and conquer. Let's not fall into that trap. Let's show them that we're beyond that. You know what I mean? So I believe together we can make a great change for the family, for the community, for the cities, that we live in, the county, the state, the nation. Listen, the generation, for this generation, because the generation that prays together, just like the family that prays together, just like the city that prays together, the state, all those things that I just, like all those groups that I just mentioned, all those that pray together will stay together. And listen, there is no one above anyone. Before God, we are all one. So let me just say, I love you. I love you all. And man, I just really hope we can get past this. Chicago's a beautiful city. Do we got our spots? We sure do. We got our spots in the city. But those are all works in progress. That's what I say. But I want to see us here in the city. In fact, wherever you are, I know I got some subscribers up in Canada as well. You know, I'm praying for all my brothers and sisters everywhere, man. Listen, let's rise up. Let's become what God has called us to be. The salt of the earth, the light of the world, the city set upon a hill that cannot be hidden. That's what time it is. So once again, do Black Lives Matter? Yes, they do. But I'm past that. Because all lives matter. How about you? How do you feel about this? Let me know in the comment section. Much love. Hit like, subscribe, share this on your social media. We got to get this message out there. We're beyond just that level that the media is feeding us. We're beyond that. Amen. I love you all. Shalom.